am preparing to make sourdough bread. Excuse my handwriting. I have written it down on here. I plan on doing this with a lot of my favorite recipes and keeping you in here just in case something goes wrong with Pinterest or the internet. I have all my favorite recipes in here. So that pushed me to do that with my favorite bread recipe. This recipe calls for both sourdough starter and yeast. I prefer just straight sourdough starter. I notice a difference on my tummy when I do bake with the ones that have yeast in them, so I prefer not to use yeast at all. But absolutely no one in my family loves just straight up sourdough bread. What's wrong? I've never came up with a recipe yet that is just straight sourdough as far as bread that the kids all and my husband all like. Most sourdough breads for me, it could just be me, come out really dense and heavy, and obviously everyone mostly likes the nice airy fluffy bread for sandwiches. So this makes a really good sandwich bread. Every once in a while, if I have enough energy, I'll make a loaf for myself with just straight sourdough and no yeast, and then I'll make 2 loaves of the sourdough yeast combination for me. But they're silly. Today, the only thing I have time for is just the 1 loaf of the sourdough / yeast bread. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on that. Right? We're gonna get all the ingredients out for it. Are you picking your nose, Sean? Yeah. Don't do that. Don't pick your nose. Okay. Oh, you're gross. Okay. Let's get started. I need flour. I need honey. This honey was given to us by a friend of our husband. His uncle does honey. He has honeybees, but he doesn't like honey. I'm not sure what kind of honey it is. I know there's different kinds, but it's okay. So we have the honey, the flour, gotta get the salt. Normally I would use my mixer, but so today we're just gonna use our good old hands. Yay! And not make a mess. Okay, so what we need to do first is we need to combine the milk. Usually you have to warm the milk first. It needs to be like real just gonna do 1 loaf. Okay. So we need a cup and a half of milk. I'll do it because I want you to spill it.
Mommy, remember this? No. What is it?
So we don't have a microwave upstairs. I'm trying to get away from using it because I did some research and they're really not good for you. No judgment on anybody who uses them because I used them all the way up until we moved here. I'm trying to avoid using it. So it does make life a lot simpler, but I'm gonna have to eat the milk on the stove. Yes, it's honey. You don't want it to be too hot, otherwise it'll kill your yeast.
Mommy.
This is a little too hot. If you accidentally do make it too hot, what I usually do is I'm just waiting for it to cool down because I'm super impatient. Yep, I'll just add a little bit more milk, and thankfully Ari spilled some, so that'll make up for the amount that she spilled.
Mommy.
That should be good. Go ahead and pour it in the bowl. Okay. Yep. So then we are going to take, where's the yeast? 2½ teaspoons of yeast.
Honey, buddy. What?
Two.
Two.
I get these big bags from a local Amish store. It's huge. It comes in handy.
Comes in handy.
Now you can choose to wait for the yeast to you can decide to wait for the yeast to start to become active, and usually you can tell when it's active because it kind of clumps together and like poofs up, gets bigger, but
Mommy,
I know that this is active because I just used it not too long ago, so I'm not gonna wait again because I'm impatient and because I have to go to work today. So sourdough. So we're gonna do 1 cup of sourdough starter. This is how I keep my sourdough starter without holes in it normally, but I think Dominic got to it. Now, being that this sourdough starter was not fed today, my daughter just poured flour on it and just left it sitting. That's one of her chores, is to feed the sourdough starter. I like to keep it on the counter. You can put it in the fridge, you might lay dormant until you're ready to use it. And I use mine quite often, so I just think it's easier just to leave it on the counter and feed it every day. But that's her chores, to feed it every day. And I forgot she just left the flour just sitting on top. So this is not active sourdough. So it calls for like almost all my sourdough starter.
you gotta make more money.
1 tablespoon honey.
I make it now.
Calls for a 1/4 cup of coconut oil. This is fractionated coconut oil, so I'm going to have to
Melt it? Melt it?
It's not fractionated, sorry. It's expeller pressed, so it's like super
You use that for my tummy
hard,
ache.
so I always have to melt it down before I use it.
You use it.
Make sure it's not too hot, so I'm probably gonna let it sit off to the side because otherwise it'll kill the yeast in the starter.
Dom, no, you can't.
I should have melted it a little bit
Mommy,
back.
Dom's touching it.
And I may be skipping a few steps but I just kind of just go at it with bread. I always make sure one of the first things that I do is you always have to do the yeast in the sourdough starter first, and then after that I just kind of add all the ingredients in. But it makes it easier if you add the oil in when you add the starter and add the milk. So you guys should definitely go ahead and do that. I'm just gonna do it my crazy way. I can't go through the way I normally do it with these two here with me. The only thing left is a teaspoon of salt, which again you should also add to the wet ingredients. So
Salt. You know, salt is very salt.
after a while you have to just go in and use your hands. I'll start first.
You have to take off your wedding ring at Daddy gave you to do it.
If you want to, now's a good time to turn it over onto a floured surface and go ahead and knead it that way. But I don't want to make a mess on my counter, so I'm just going to stick to the bowl. The oil is lukewarm. The cool thing about most bread recipes is you can use, if you double it, you can use some for a loaf of bread, and you can use some for what is it called? For cinnamon rolls. I do that a lot. I'll do extra dough so that the kids can have sourdough cinnamon rolls for breakfast. That's why I reserved the last 1/2 cup, because I knew I was going to add the oil in last. Don't do it the way that I did it. This is just for a fun video, watching me make bread. It always turns out good, but usually I follow the accurate steps when I'm not being distracted. But it'll still turn out okay. It's hard to mess up bread. I mean, no matter what, it's still edible, right?
Can I turn on, Mommy?
Yep, hold on. Alright, go ahead. I'm just gonna go through, make sure it's okay. One last time. Let Mommy see. Go wash your hands, please. You want it to be nice and smooth. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more of olive oil on the bottom of this bowl. Nice and neat. And then take your cloth, towel, let it sit. You need to let it sit until it doubles in size. I'm just going to let mine sit until my husband gets home from work, and then he can add it to my bread loaf pan and stick it in the oven. He knows how long it needs to stay in for and all that good stuff, because like I said, we've made this recipe many times in the past, and he's done that for me before. So you just put it into an oiled pan, or a bread, like if you have a glass bread dish, that's fine too, like a loaf pan. This one right here, my husband got it for me. It's called a USA pan. There's actually a tutorial I found on YouTube. I wish I could remember the name of the woman, because I haven't watched that video. It's been such a long time since I watched it, but she shows you the best way to get like a really good loaf out of this pan. So you just roll it out with a rolling pin, and then just kind of like fold it over, and then kind of go through and mush it down into the pan and make sure that there's no empty spaces in the pan. Make sure it's all filled with the dough. And then I usually put it in the oven on 375. And it usually takes about 45 minutes to an hour. So I probably go with the longer depending on your oven, and do it for an hour. Just keep an eye on it. You just push it this way, you peek with this one. Usually you can tell when it's done is when the topping gets like really pretty dark brown color. All bread timings are different. I usually put mine in for about an hour. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one, just making bread with the kids and I. And I'm going to start supper, and I will see you guys in the next vlog.